So all of these things, they're easy when you're high, right? In your Iman, when you're in a Iman high. But what happens when you're in an Iman low? Because obviously Iman rises and falls. We know this from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where Abu Bakr and another companion comes to him and says, we've become hypocrites. And he says, why? He says, because when we're with you, we see our Iman is so high, it's as if we see Jannah and Jahannam with our eyes, but when we go with our families, our Iman is different, you know, it goes down. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if your Iman was the same all the time as when you're with me, the angels would shake hands with you in the streets. And so he teaches even them, right? These are the best people, and yet their Iman goes up and down too. And this is part of what? Being human. So what he teaches us is how to handle the lows. And this is how you handle the lows. Everything that I said in these 4, like I gave you a prescription of 4 things, right? Make sure that you hold on to those things, high or low. If you hold on to your salah, no matter how you're feeling, if you hold on to your azkar, no matter how low you're feeling, it just becomes like I have a question for you. When you're feeling depressed, do you stop breathing? When you're having a bad day, do you stop, oh, I haven't brushed my teeth for a month, or I haven't taken a shower for 5 months. Like, we don't do these things. Why? Regardless of how high or how low I am, I have to keep breathing to stay alive. And I have to keep taking a shower, and I have to keep, brushing my teeth. I have to still keep eating and drinking water. These are just bare minimums to stay alive. And so this spiritual prescription that I gave is just like that. It's like oxygen, water, food. It just keeps you alive. And what happens if you stick to these things, especially salah? Like, I'm going to tell you this. Everything I've given you, these are all like, dude, don't eat poison if you don't want to die. Keep eating if you want to stay. That's all necessary. But salah is like oxygen. Meaning, you give up salah, it's like immediate death. You get it? You might be able to hobble around as long as you have oxygen if you're not eating healthy or whatever. But without oxygen, don't even talk to me about anything, because you're going to be dead. Salah is like that. Make sense? Fair enough? Just think of it like that. So when you're in an Iman low, don't give up your salah. You get it? You just think of salah, even if you feel like, oh, but my quality of my salah is awful right now. But you know what? Have you ever been to Cairo? The quality of the oxygen there is pretty awful. But you have to still breathe. You know what I'm saying? The quality, it's so polluted. Yeah, but you can't say, well, you know what? Right now I'm in Cairo and the quality of the air is just not perfect. So I'm just going to breathe next month when I'm back in wherever. It doesn't work like, or next year or whatever I'm leaving. You know what I mean? So the idea is that, yes, we might not be having a perfect salah at that moment. We may not be at the top of our Iman game, but you have to stay alive anyways. And what happens eventually is you'll go back up, as long as you don't let go of the bare minimum. And the bare minimum is oxygen, my sister. It's like, it's oxygen, it's food, it's water. And then you'll be able to go back up eventually. But here's the problem. The problem comes that when you're at your low and you say, you know what, I might as well just stop praying. Because you know what, Shaitan comes and says, you're just like, your salah is terrible. You're committing this sin. You're committing that sin. You're just a hypocrite. You're going to go pray? So just stop praying. Oh, and while you're at it, you might as well take off your hijab too, because you're just a terrible person. And then when you start to give in to those thoughts, that's what happens, is you just start going lower and lower and lower. And that's the whole objective, isn't it? I mean, that's his objective, is to make you go into despair. So really my advice is just stay alive spiritually, and you'll, like the Prophet ﷺ said, Iman rises and falls. You will go back up. Everything in life, there's nothing stays the same. But if you stop breathing when you're low, then that's the problem. That's when a person drowns. Yeah, that's just hold on to your life jacket and you'll be okay. You'll go back. Any other? Yes.
So how do you translate that into your daily living? Obviously, we're not living in a vacuum. You concentrated, which is a great talk, a great presentation, on how to improve yourself, your response, and purify your soul, purify your soul. But at the same time, what is it that we're dealing with day-to-day activity with people, with life, with events, with what's going on, in our society here, in TV, in the country, in the world. So how do we deal with that also? Because one thing is to purify ourselves and our responses, but at the same time, we keep being bombarded by all those, extraneous factors that are affecting our life too. We don't live in the tent,
True. So what he's saying is, how do you deal with everyday life, the challenges? Okay, these are all like important principles, but what do we do about this stuff that's bombarding us, negative news, this and that? Everything I said is absolutely connected to that. So what I'm saying is, someone might listen to this and say, okay, that's all great, that's stuff you do in the masjid, but then what do I do about this? But that's my whole point. Everything that I said right now is absolutely intimately connected to how I'm dealing with all that. See, the Prophet ﷺ, when he said, let me give you an example. When he said that the people will soon come together to attack you, like people call one another to eat from their dish. And then the companions asked, is it because we will be small in number? And he said, no, you will not be small in number. But what will happen is that Allah will take the fear of you out of the hearts of your enemy, and in your heart will be something called wahan. And he said that you will also be like the froth on the ocean. You know, on the ocean there's just these little like bubbles. It has no power, no determination. It just goes wherever the tide takes it. And he said this disease that's in the hearts of the people, that's what's going to make them weak politically. Because he says your enemies are going to attack you. That's a political situation, right? That's a political circumstance, and it's external. But he's linking it to the internal. He's linking it to this disease called wahan. And what does he define it as? حُبِّ الدُّنْيَا وَكَرَاهِيَةُ الْمَوْتِ. It's the love of dunya and the hatred of death. So we can't actually separate these things. That our condition outside is connected to our condition inside. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That Allah doesn't change the condition of a people until they change what's inside themselves. I'm not talking that we don't work, or we don't do activism, or we don't get involved. Of course we do. We do. But we cannot neglect the internal work, because all the external work in the world will not be effective if we're not working inside. That's what the ayah means. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah doesn't change the condition of a people. We can do all the activism and political work that we want. We can bang our head against every wall, and we can try to be involved in every campaign, and absolutely nothing will change until we change ourselves. And that's my point. I'm not saying we only do one. I'm not saying we only read Quran in the masjid and do our adhkar. That's not it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying without that, we're never going to see change. And it is not enough to just do activism, and it is not enough to just be involved in that campaign and this. It's not going to change our condition until I change inside.